I wrote it and I researched it and I
Jim Carrey showed up at the César Awards in Paris to accept a Lifetime Achievement Award, and instead of talking about his incredible speech, the entire internet became convinced he'd been replaced by a clone. Yes, you heard that right, a clone. And the story behind this viral conspiracy reveals something much deeper about how we treat aging male celebrities. Here's what happened. Carrie spent months learning French and crafting a heartfelt speech to accept an honorary César on February 26th. But when photos of the 64-year-old comedian hit the internet, the conversation instantly shifted from his words to his appearance. Side-by-side images of Carrie then and now circulated everywhere, with people zeroing in on what they perceived as a fuller, smoother look. The man known for his incredibly elastic facial expressions, the guy who could contort his face into literally any shape imaginable, suddenly became the subject of intense scrutiny about looking different. But here's where it gets absolutely wild. More striking than the question of what happened to Jim Carrey were accusations that the man in the photos might not even be him. People claimed he had been cloned or that he was being impersonated by makeup artist Alexis Stone, who's known for celebrity transformations. The clone theory. Let that sink in. We've reached a point where people genuinely believe it's more plausible that Jim Carrey was replaced by a clone than that a 64-year-old man's face has changed over time. But experts say the ongoing chatter points to a bigger issue, not specifically about Carrey, but about a massive shift in how we view male aging and cosmetic intervention. Are male celebrities now stepping into the same ruthless beauty spotlight that women have endured for decades? Sarah Cornfield, a gender studies expert and professor of communication, explains that women in the public eye have long faced a lose-lose equation when it comes to aging. If they age naturally, they're dismissed as old and ugly, and if they intervene with procedures or treatments, they're critiqued for being fake. In any case, cosmetic work has become expected in the industry for women. Men, on the other hand, have largely been spared from this level of scrutiny. They have a lot more leeway, Cornfield says, pointing to the wider range of men deemed attractive in society, from the rugged cowboy to the dad bod. Because cosmetic intervention hasn't been seen as an obligation for men, any visible change is viewed as a jarring choice that sits outside the norm rather than routine maintenance for their career. And that's exactly what we're seeing with Carrey. People aren't just commenting on whether he looks good or bad, they're questioning if it's even really him because the change feels so unexpected for a male celebrity. Carrey isn't the first to spark this conversation. In recent years, Bradley Cooper, Zac Efron, and Tom Cruise have all faced speculation about their appearances. While each has denied undergoing cosmetic surgery, the fact that the public is now analyzing changes in their jawlines and cheekbones suggests the scrutiny is definitely expanding to men. But there's a key distinction in Carrey's case. The backlash seems rooted less in vanity and more in perceived authenticity. We see a huge accusation of inauthenticity, Cornfield says, for an actor whose entire career has relied on the mobility and expressiveness of his face. The idea that it has changed feels, to some fans, like a betrayal. Plastic surgeon Dr. Paul Rosenberg has a theory about what might have actually happened. He points to a transparency gap. While female celebrities have moved toward radical openness about cosmetic procedures to the point where it's normalized as self-care, men still treat it as their best-kept secret. It has a lot to do with the male ego, Rosenberg explains. Women talk about this almost like they're wearing a handbag or jewelry. They're not afraid to say they had work done. But men believe it's some sort of assault on their masculinity, which it doesn't have to be. While more men are seeking cosmetic procedures, influenced by social media and looks-maxing culture and anxiety about aging, they're still hesitant about surgery, so they opt for less invasive treatments like fillers. But here's the problem. They're more fearful, so they'll have filler, but the filler is overfilled.
Looking at Carrey's photos, Rosenberg speculates, if you compare his before and after, his brows are still furrowed, he still has excess skin on his upper eyelids, he still has crow's feet, so he has not had facial skin tightening or a facelift, he's had something added. The addition of those products changed the shape of his face and even the expression of his face. So potentially, Carrey got fillers, a less invasive procedure, but the result changed his facial shape in a way that made him look different enough to spark clone conspiracies. That's how dramatic the change appeared to people who are used to his expressive, mobile face. For male celebrities, there's an added complication. Altering their looks can run up against long-standing ideals of masculinity. A very outstandingly handsome man that makes changes, people might consider him less manly or less hunky, Rosenberg says. And Cornfield adds that the change noted in Carrey isn't one that makes him more masculine. We're primarily seeing what appears to be a change in age dynamics. For men, that terrain is still relatively new. They're not supposed to care about aging. They're supposed to just naturally become silver foxes. Here's the ultimate irony. Over the past 2 decades, men have increasingly entered the beauty economy that women have long navigated, from hair implants to weight loss drugs to cosmetic procedures. But the social script hasn't caught up. So when a man does something to his appearance, people don't know how to process it. Hence, clone theories. There's sort of a tension here, Cornfield says. No one should be subjected to oppressive beauty standards, but we also want people to have the autonomy to make choices about their bodies. Her hope is that we reach a point where a celebrity's decision about their appearance wouldn't spark viral theories about cloning or imposters. If Carrey were to make a statement, in an ideal world, he might just tell us that he did what he wanted and that we should all mind our own business. But until norms shift, male stars like Jim Carrey are discovering what women in Hollywood learned ages ago. When it comes to growing old in the spotlight, there's often no way to win. Age naturally, you're washed up. Do something about it, you're fake, vain, or apparently a clone. The Jim Carrey clone conspiracy is absurd, but it's also a perfect snapshot of how we're still figuring out how to handle male celebrities aging in an era where cosmetic procedures are everywhere, but honesty about them is not. Jim Carrey gave a beautiful speech in French accepting a Lifetime Achievement Award. Maybe we should have been talking about that instead.
As a single mom, your support means everything to me. Please subscribe for more updates and stories like this. Thank you.